This week's episode, my friend, is going to be slightly shorter because I want it to be an encouraging word for you while you're on the way to work, while you're taking a walk, while you're at the gym, while you're in the kitchen cooking, before you start your day at your computer, whatever it is. I want you to hit play on this episode and just tune in for the next 15-ish minutes because I want to give you an encouraging word today. And that encouraging word has everything to do with your fear. When, my friend, when are you going to stop allowing fear to hold you back from doing what God is calling you to do? It's got to be at some point. Otherwise, it will never come. There will never be a point where you actually surpass that fear. But the only way for you to actually get to that point is to move. To take the necessary action, even if you're scared, even if you're unsure, even if the unknown terrifies you, you're still moving, you're still taking action, you're still working towards pursuing what you know God has been calling you to do for a very long time. Now, here's the thing. I know, easier said than done. Fear is oftentimes on the throne of our hearts more than we think. A lot of times we think of money being on the throne of our hearts or idols being on the throne of our hearts where God should be. But something that I feel like we unintentionally miss is that fear can many times take the throne of our hearts. When it's on our heart, we think about it. We allow it to control us. We allow it to decipher the decisions that we should or shouldn't be making. We allow it to lead us. And a lot of what fear leads us to do is to go against what God is calling us to do. So I want to change your mind. I want to pour into you. I want to encourage you in this week's episode and get you to see a different perspective. What does it look like to go from fearing walking in your calling to instead fearing the disobedience if you weren't to walk in your calling? That is the headspace that we need to be working towards, that we need to exist in. Why? Because when we fear disobedience in what God is calling us to do, then that encourages us, it motivates us to run right after what He is calling us to do. That encourages us to remember to pour our faith in Him, to remember that He has got us covered, that He is our provider, that He is our comforter, He is our protector. He's got us. But a lot of times we forget that. A lot of times we don't want to full-heartedly believe that because our fear is way too noisy and therefore is leading our life. This past week, I had this beautiful word in my mind, on my spirit, where I was sitting there, I was praying to God about my personal next steps. What does He want me to pursue? What does He want me to do? What does He want me to change? How does He want me to show up? And I felt in my spirit, Angel, there are so many of my sons and daughters who have hidden gifts and ideas inside of them that I have been trying to get out of them, but they just won't move. And I felt that these gifts and ideas that you have, God isn't just trying to get you to use them or call you to them, get them out of you and into the world, not just for your benefit, but for others. He's calling you to be a leader. Your presence, your gift, your idea is the next step for someone's transformation, is the next step for someone to have a seed planted, is the next step for someone to see Jesus, all because of your idea. And even if your idea or your gift isn't boldly proclaiming the gospel, because you love God, we should be working towards everything we do to be centered around God Himself, which means that even if we're not boldly proclaiming the gospel, we are still shining a God-given light. We are still emancipating His greatness. We are still reflecting the characters of Jesus to the point where that is so naturally and beautifully seen to the people that you're being called to impact. Whether it's through content on YouTube, podcast, whether it's that book that God has been calling you to write, whether it's that business that you were supposed to have been started a year ago, okay? Whether it is you finally finishing up that project, you launching that coaching program, you starting to sell those digital products, whatever that idea is, it's time to stop letting fear hold you back. And if you're gonna let fear hold you back from anything, Let it hold you back from being disobedient to God, rather than it holding you back from being obedient to God. There's a huge difference there. And this is something that I'm working on every single day. Because even though we don't need to rush, and even though, God willing, we have time, in the grand scheme of things, my friend, we should not be using that as an excuse to delay what we know we should be doing. I know it's scary. I know you have so many questions, but leave the unanswered questions in God's hands and trust Him enough that He will take care of you. He will guide your steps. He will open up doors. And my friend, He will for sure close doors too. And along your journey, if things are not making sense, or if you find yourself confused or frustrated, conflicted in any way, bring it to God. Because as long as you are in alignment with Him and what He's calling you to do, you are going to be more than okay. How long are you going to let fear? Are you going to let the enemy's negative voice keep you from walking in your calling? Keep you from creatively pursuing that thing? How long? Because I can sit here and tell you right now, it's been long enough. It was long enough for me. I was standing in the way of my own progress. I was the reason why delays were happening. Yes, God will have you in waiting seasons, and yes, God will keep you in seasons of stillness, and yes, God might be prolonging an answer to a prayer that you've been praying about for a while, but there's a difference between that, because He knows best, and trusting that, versus you being the reason why things are delayed. Huge difference. How long will you allow the fear that the enemy is speaking into your mind so loudly? How long are you going to let that keep you from God's provision over your life, God's calling over your life, the future that God has in store for you, if you would just move? Now, there are two things that I want you to think about that can really help your faith surpass the fear that you're dealing with right now so that you can get moving. First thing that I want you to think about, what is one thing that you can do for 30 minutes a day that will help you overcome your fear? We have 24 hours in a day. Yes, are 8 of those hours sleeping? Absolutely. But that leaves us with 16 hours out of our day. What does it look like to take 30 minutes each day doing something, no matter how big or how small, that can get your faith to finally surpass your fear? What action can that be for you? 30 minutes a day. And it doesn't have to be this super big, drastic, dramatic step. It can be small. It can be steady. It can be quiet. The whole point that I'm saying here is one simple thing. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of times when our fear is so big, it's because we're thinking about all the big negative things that could happen, all the what ifs, all of the ideas of failure. And because our fear is so big, oftentimes we think that we need this big, drastic, dramatic change or huge step to take in order to overcome that fear. That is an unrealistic expectation. You cannot expect one big, huge habit to all of a sudden make your fear completely go away. It is a process, a gradual process that you need to be patient with yourself about, that God gives you grace for, as long as you are learning day by day to put your trust in Him enough to the point where your faith, day by day, begins to surpass your fear. So 30 minutes a day, what does that look like for you to work on that? Can you spend 30 minutes a day writing a part of that chapter in the book that you're supposed to write? Can you spend 30 minutes a day building out the structure of the program that you know you're supposed to build? Can you spend 30 minutes a day diving into this project or thinking here or brainstorming here in order to do what God is calling you to do? 30 minutes a day to allow your faith to surpass your fear. The second thing that I want to remind you about today, God is your provider. He will provide you with peace. He will provide you with clarity. He will provide you with comfort. He will provide you with counsel. He will provide you with open doors. He will provide for you financially if you just trust Him as you walk in the calling that He has called you to. I need to be very clear with this because we forget this all the time. I forget this all the time. Why? Because fear just gets so big to the point where we forget. that God is bigger than our fear. We forget that God will provide for us and that we will be okay. A lot of times our fear comes from worrying about finances and how that's going to work out. But when you stop looking at your calling or your clients, your customers, your students, your job as them being why you're provided for, and you start looking to God as the reason as to why you're provided for, then there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear because God will take care of you. However, I want to be careful with my words here because that doesn't just mean that you just sit back and that you expect God to provide for you financially. It is a partnership with God. You have to put in the faith. You have to put in the consistent effort. You have to steward what it is that He has given you right now. And as you do that, you are positioning yourself as someone who can be trustworthy, as someone who knows how to steward gifts from the Lord, as someone who knows how to steward your current season well from the Lord. Whether it's hard or easy, you're stewarding it really well with your faith and with your effort. And as you do that, God will come alongside you and He will take care of you. He will make sure that you're okay. He sees your good works. He sees your faith. He sees how much you trust Him. He will make sure that you are okay. Stop allowing your fear about money to keep you from pursuing your calling. Go about it wisely. Yes, have a plan, but don't allow the planning to delay the actions that you should be taking now. I know it's tricky when it comes to the question of, is it time? Am I ready to go all in with this calling? Am I ready to pursue this project, that gift, that idea? Am I really ready for this? Is this the right time? I know that that can be a really tough question. And my answer to that question for you is to not overthink it. Remember, what is one thing that you could do a day to allow your faith to surpass the fear that you have about walking in your God-given creative calling? One thing that you could do a day for 30 minutes. And as you're doing that, more clarity will come. As you're doing that and pursuing God first and foremost, He will show you the next step. And even if it doesn't make sense, even if you get confused, just keep progressing forward because God will either sustain that path or He will so beautifully pivot you so that you get on the right path. All in all, my friend, let this week's episode be an encouragement to you that it's time to move. The reason why I wanted to just encourage you with this today is because I've had so many beautiful conversations this past week with current students of mine or just conversations with beautiful people, beautiful creatives in my audience. And I just noticed this theme of fear. So scared to move, so scared to make that choice, so scared to pursue this, so scared about finances, so worried about failure, so concerned with what they're not. And this pattern of fear, it breaks my heart to see because I look at all of these beautiful people that I've had the opportunity to connect one-on-one with, and I think, wow, God wants you to get that creative gift and idea out of you. There's a beautiful thing there that's going to make impact on your life, an impact on the people around you, impact to the people that God is calling you to show up for. What a beautiful change and transformation from that one gift of yours, that one idea of yours, but you're choosing to keep it hidden. It is time to overcome that by no longer fearing being obedient to God, but instead fearing being disobedient to God. Because when you are disobedient to God, you will find yourself down a path that you were never meant to be on, which means you will feel dissatisfied. Having joy and peace is going to be very hard to achieve. There's going to be something that feels like it's missing, and that lingering, that longing will just stay in you. But when you obey what God is calling you to do, there is a sense of satisfaction there. Joy and peace are more attainable there. Your faith skyrockets because you're forced, so beautifully forced, to grow your trust in God when you're pursuing your calling, pursuing oftentimes what is the unknown, but you're doing it because you trust God and you know that everything is going to be okay, that He's got you. As long as you partner with Him, He has got you. Thanks so much for tuning in. My prayer is that this episode uplifts you enough to get moving. One itty bitty step a day, my friend. It is time. And if you know of a friend, of a colleague, of a family member who could use this same motivation, feel free to share this episode their way. We all need a little upliftment from time to time, so feel free to share this word out to anyone you feel could use it. Much love, my friend. I believe in you. I believe so heavily in the God that exists in you and that beautiful gift or idea that he's trying to bring out of you. I know you can do it. I'll see you next week for another episode of the God Empowered Entrepreneur Podcast.